one, which is not great for the Kings. Also, because they are going against the 1 seed tonight. We don't know if De'Aaron Fox will be there or not, but the Kings got to find a way to get it done. We are joined now by Dane Moore, who covers the Timberwolves and host of the Dane Moore NBA podcast with Blue Wire. Dane, thanks so much for joining us.
What's up, man? Let's do it. Kings Wolves.
Let's do it. Kings Wolves. Let's start here. We talk a lot about the West and how it's a complete mess this season. Part of the reason it's a mess is because the TWolves have figured this thing out after last season. The 5,000 draft picks to get Gobert, and then you also have the OKC Thunder, who have really taken a leap. I think everybody thought they'd be better, but maybe not this. How was it last season, going from last season to this season? I wouldn't say the butt of jokes, but a lot of people thought, wow, they gave up all this, and then the T-Wolves, they weren't in this position. To where you are now, things have kind of molded together for you, and you're the 1 seed. How has that change been from last season to this season?
Well, it's crazy, and it's ironic that we're doing it right now. I mean, the Wolves picked up their 42nd win of the season over the Grizzlies the other night, so they're 42-17. Last year, they're 42-40.
Wow.
Right. Like that kind of wraps it up right there. Right.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I mean, yeah, I didn't expect this. I thought it would get better. Like you could, there were signs actually like around this time last season. Actually, you guys remember when the Wolves, I think they were in Sacramento. It's probably about this time then. And I remember it really stood out to me. Like Naz Reid was guarding Kevin Huerter. Mm-hmm. And he was chasing him, right? Like, and Nas has been like a 5 his whole career up to that point. But you know, things kind of shift around. And it was, to me, it was like the perfect sort of encapsulation of like, all right, this took a while for everybody to figure out like sliding down positions, like where they fit into this thing around Gobert, right? This was this huge disorienting thing. And so Nas plays well in that Kings game, like proves he can guard on the perimeter, which is big for him and Cat. And then the game after that, I believe they played the Suns, and he like goes up for this huge dunk, breaks his wrist. And it was this like little run where you're like, okay, this is kind of making sense. And he goes out. Jaden McDaniels punches the wall, you know, before the playoff series, and he's out there too. But there were some signs of this. I mean, none of us were predicting that the Wolves were going to be the 1 seed at this point.
Right.
But it's interesting to think about back now when you're like, oh yeah, like, maybe we should have given this like a 5% chance of happening, because there were some signs, but it's really, you know, coalesced. And then Ant has stepped up. Rudy's the best defensive player in the league. You know, Carl's fitting into a new role. Like, yeah, man, things are clicking.
Dane, I'm curious. I mean, we the Kings played Denver on Wednesday, and so we had a Denver writer on, and we asked him essentially. I mean, the Kings are trying to build out. Essentially using the Denver model, they're trying to build their own version of a championship contender. But actually, funny enough, the Timberwolves are a team that's really, really close in terms of storied failure, really. I mean, the T-Wolves had not as long of a playoff drought as the Kings did, but had an extended playoff drought. It got close. What was it, 12 years?
Yeah, 2004 to 2018, 14. Yeah, it's 14
wow.
years.
Yeah, I mean, we reached 16, so I guess we got you beat there. But, you know, it was a similar playoff drought, and you guys broke it. You know, there's the iconic scene of Patrick Beverley standing on the scores table, all that. But my real question is, like, how have you seen expectations change? And you know, we talk a lot about success not being linear. Just how has that shift happened since you guys have kind of started to become a playoff team? And I know you've been in and out of the playoffs since then, but you know, just how has that process gone for the Timberwolves?
It's weird, man. Like, honestly, to cover it, it's weird.
Yeah.
I've been covering this team for 7 years, and you know, it's foreign, right? You kind of get to this time, and you guys can probably feel this too, like where you get to this part of the season, and even if it's like, all right, they got like a shot at the 8th seed, right? You're interested in the team going to the playoffs, but you're really thinking about like, what are the next steps? What can they do in the summer? What do they need? And so for me, and I think for the fan base as a whole, it's been an adjustment of like, you'll put that stuff to the side, right? Like the Wolves are going to have luxury tax issues, whatever. How long are they going to be able to keep the group together? Well, you know, here we are. We're like 60 in, and they're good, you know? So maybe we should focus on the now. So I think that's the adjustment right? And then it's just interesting to think about a team who is really good, but like they got some pretty clear areas in which they're not good or they could get better, right? Like this team is an average offensive team. Like they have been all season. Like they haven't really had like a month where you were like, oh yeah, that's one of the 5 best offenses in the league. And it feels like they should have that. I mean, even when the Wolves were terrible for a long time, it was a top 10 offense every single year because you had Cat. The defense was trash, but like the offense was there, And so it's been this thing where it's like, all right, well, you not only have Cat, you got Ant, you got a little Conley Gobert 2-man game. Like, why isn't this better offensively? And they're moving in the right direction. February, I think they're 11th on offense. But like that's got to get there. That's got to. I mean, the defense. We can talk about the defense. Defense is legit, but like you to really make a run, you want to talk about going to like the Western Conference Finals, where they haven't been since they played the Kings in 2004. The offense has to get better, and it's the turnovers need to go down. And Ant turns it over a lot. He's young. This team's still like weirdly kind of young, like half young. Mm-hmm. You got some of the vets there too, but they're still figuring it out while having the 1 seed in the West.
Talking to Dane Moore, covering the Timberwolves and host of the Dane Moore NBA podcast. Dane, that basically leads me to my next question. If the playoffs ended tomorrow or today, what does worry you the most about this T-Wolves team? Is it the offense and maybe the lack of offense in certain spots?
It's honestly a team like the Kings in a way. Yeah. Like I don't think, I mean, to be honest, I don't think like the Kings quite have enough depth specifically in the front court to kind of roll with the bigs there. But if I'm a Kings fan, I kind of like that matchup in ways because like Sabonis is going to be able to go at Gobert. Gobert's elite at the rim, but it's really is like that help defender, right? Like they put Cat on Jokic and then Rudy's kind of lurking around there. Well, Rudy's got to guard Domas in this because there's nowhere you can really hide him on a non-shooter on the Kings. So like that, you saw Domas go at him a little bit the last time these two teams played. I also think Fox is just so fast. Like the two guys, Fox and Maxey, give Jaden McDaniels a little bit of speed problems, and they can burn by Gobert on a switch. Not many guys can do that. I also think like the Kings, they're not a good defensive team, but like they get into you, they're going to harass you. They're going to play those passing lanes, and the Wolves have a turnover problem. So there's this list of even all good teams, they got their like 4 or 5 weaknesses. I think the Kings kind of poke at some of those things. But yeah, ultimately like their biggest enemy is themselves. Are they going to is Ant going to be locked in the whole time? Are you going to move the ball? Like it's that sort of stuff offensively where you got a young 22-year-old who is still learning the game, as the main dude, right? He's seeing 2 every single time. There's gap help every single time. He's got to fight that frustration of like, I want to get 30, right? But there's 3 guys here, and that's as kind of Christmas came around, he was like, no, I got to go. Like, I got to be that 30 every night. And teams just saw that and they were like, well, load up on it. And he was turning it over like crazy. So he's learning in this process here too, as the Wolves are overall, but they're not Superman. Like this team is beatable. The hope is that as you get to the playoffs, you've answered more of those questions.
Dane, I'm curious. You mentioned Jaden McDaniels there, and I feel like I gush about Jaden McDaniels all the time. Guys like him, Jared Vanderbilt.
He does.
I do. I really do way too much. And we only got to see him once. I don't think we saw him in the game after Thanksgiving in November. Can you just tell our listeners about Jaden McDaniels, what he brings on the defensive end specifically? I mean, he's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's souped up Keegan Murray defensively, right? And Keegan's having a great defensive year, as you guys know. But Jaden is the top of the class at that. He can't shoot like Keegan can. We're talking about defense, but you guys have seen this season. And I think into the modern NBA today, that is so much pick and roll isolation, trying to puncture the defense. Point of attack defense is so important right now. And Jaden's about as good as it gets at that. And the thing is, what's cool, and he gets in foul trouble sometimes, but with this team, they got Nickeil Alexander-Walker who can come in and, if Jaden picks up 2, all right, now De'Aaron Fox has got to go against Nickeil. Ant can guard, Kyle Anderson can guard. This team has a lot, most people from afar are probably like, oh, they're the number one defense because of Gobert. Like, for sure. Rudy's defensive player of the year. But, man, if you're De'Aaron Fox, you're Kevin Huerter, you're anybody who wants to try and attack the basket in any sort of way, the Wolves are going to make that tough. Like, they played the Celtics and the Clippers who just want to isolate you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the Wolves play them tough because they got guys who can move their feet and just guard one-on-one.
Talking to Dane Moore. Dane, before we get you out of here, the way we were talking about Anthony Edwards, it did make me remember what happened about the All-Star break and shooting left-handed. And, is he going to be a face of the league here in Sacramento? We're trying to push to get our guys in the All-Star game, to get De'Aaron and Sabonis, who I think deserved it, but it was a stacked year.
Thanks,
and
Kat.
your guy actually Kat, he was the problem.
Yeah, don't say Ant. Ant deserved to be in there.
No, Ant deserved to be in, but then he gets in there. He's shooting left-handed. He's messing around. What did you think about that display and pundit / player like Draymond Green saying, hey, if you're going to be the face of the league, you got to take that stuff seriously? He's only 22, as you mentioned. Do you think that Anthony Edwards wants to be the face of the league? Do you think he can get there? From what you've seen and what you've gathered, what are your thoughts on Anthony Edwards and his future, I guess, off the court as well as on the court?
He doesn't care what anybody thinks about that stuff. He does not. He does not care. Like,
good catch.
So we were in Portland right before the break,
Mm-hmm.
the last game, and I'm there at shoot around before the game, and him, like, where the left-handed thing came from is I was there. Like, him and Mike Conley were just having an opposite hand shooting contest, and like the kid, I think what people don't get about about Ant is he is so competitive, like with that stuff, cards, whatever it is. Like, obviously you see it on the floor, but he's like, he does not like to lose, and so they just got into this like half-hour opposite hand shooting contest. And like, he would tell you he beat Mike. He won the last match of it. Like, Mike won the first of them. So he's just into it. That's just like what Ant is like. He was like, that was fun. I just was shooting left-handed yesterday morning. So he gets out to the skills thing like 24 hours later, and he's like, I'm tired, kind of, like, whatever. I'm just going to mess around and shoot him left-handed. And people can be bothered by that. Like,
right.
I don't care because that was a terrible night of television.
Yeah,
that was the All-Star game. Like, I actually think that was one of the most interesting parts of the entire All-Star weekend is Ant being who Ant is, man. Like,
he was hitting some too. I saw him hit some.
He did. I mean, it's like, he's from Atlanta, man. Like, he's just like, he doesn't like, and he's wearing a hoodie at the game. Everybody else is wearing all their stuff like at All-Star weekend. I mean, it's I don't know, I guess for better or for worse, he's just going to be like who he is as a person. I think there's power in that, like on the court too. There's power in that with his teammates. He's got this like really like strong ability to relate with all different types of people, ages, whatever. Like, we talk about basketball IQ all the time. I wouldn't say Ant actually has a super high basketball IQ, but there's EQ, right? Emotions.
Right.
Ant I've covered him his whole career. He's just really good with people and making them being himself, but like letting you into, who he is. You feel comfortable with him, and the whole kind of young contingent of the group, Nasri, Jade, McDaniels, that's like, there's a whole other window of this coming from the Wolves. Once Mike Conley retires, once Rudy's got some time, and Cat's locked up long-term too. I mean, that's a crazy part about the Wolves. Cat's got 4 more years after this. Ant's got 5 more. Jaden's got 5 more. Nas is under contract. Like, there is another window of sub 30-year-olds, and Ant is at the forefront of this. So we want to talk about face of the league. I think it normally comes down to winning. And what does winning normally come down to? It comes to the guys that you got around you that can help you win. And to that end, over the next 5 years, like, I think Ant's going to have a squad around him. So anybody else who's fighting for this stupid thing of face of the league, like, whatever, Ant's going to be fighting for wins. And I think that will make him a face of the league.
Dane Moore, thank you so much. This was great, man. Covering the Timberwolves, host of the Dane Moore NBA podcast on Blue Wire Network. Dane, thank you so much. Definitely got to do this again, specifically if there is a matchup that results in the Kings and TWolves in the playoffs.
I would love it. I would love that matchup. I'll get out there to Sacramento. I wasn't out there earlier this year. It'd be yeah, man, it'll be a fun series. And I think the Kings are legit. Like like you said at the top, it's a deep West. The Kings are like your normal like 4 seed, I feel like, right? And just this year it's the 8. And they could, what are they, like 2 games out of being the 5 seed right now?
Right,
like
one.
They're not this. They're a good team too. So that's what I've been saying to like Wolves fans. I'm like, even if you get the 1 seed, like this isn't easy. So I'm excited for the game tonight. And yeah, we'll talk more.
There you go. We got a quick comment here for Dane. McDaniels for Herter straight up. Who says no? We won't make you answer that. Thank you, Dane.
The Wolves say no. The Wolves say no.
Thank you, Dane, so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
When we return, continuing our TWolves preview as the Kings are in Minnesota trying to get it done for Friday Night Beam. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.
Subscribe to Sactown Sports on YouTube and watch the